close her eyes for a moment and imagine the world darkened by an ominous presence. Pharaoh, the ruler of Egypt, had been plagued by a terrifying dream. His sleep had been restless, and in his vision, he saw a fire that consumed the homes of Egypt, sparing none, except the homes of the Israelites. But it was the end of the dream that chilled him to his core. He saw a child, an Israelite child, who would grow up to be a great leader. This child, Pharaoh feared, would bring an end to his reign. Terrified by this dream, Pharaoh consulted his wise men, his soothsayers, and his advisors. "What does this dream mean?" he demanded. The wise men, looking at one another in fear, explained that this dream foretold the birth of a child who would rise up and challenge Pharaoh's rule. Driven by fear and paranoia, Pharaoh decreed a brutal order. Every baby boy born to the Israelites must be killed. His heart, hardened by pride and fear, could not bear the thought of losing his power, of being dethroned by the very people he had enslaved for so long. Imagine the sadness that filled the homes of the Israelites as they heard the cries of mothers losing their children, their beloved sons taken from them. The Nile River ran red with the grief of families torn apart by Pharaoh's ruthless order. The people, the innocent, were caught in the midst of a ruler's paranoia. Yet, even in this darkest of times, Allah was moving in ways unseen. The birth of Musa, as, in the midst of this great tragedy, a woman in the land of Egypt gave birth to a son. Her name was Asiya, and she was a devoted servant of Allah, but she was also the wife of Pharaoh himself. Despite the suffering of her people, she had never lost her faith in the Creator. She believed in the unseen, in a power beyond the earthly kings and tyrants. This child, Musa, as, was born into a time of great suffering. His mother, in fear of Pharaoh's decree, hid him for as long as she could. The cries of an infant are not easy to conceal, and soon the danger of discovery grew. What could she do? What choice did she have? One night, as she wept, she received a divine inspiration. A message from Allah told her what to do. With a heavy heart but full of trust in her Creator, she placed her infant son into a small basket, made it watertight, and set him adrift in the Nile River. Think for a moment. Imagine the courage it took for a mother to do such a thing, to release her child into the vastness of the river, trusting that Allah would guide him to safety. As the basket floated down the river, she placed her faith in the hands of the divine, and Allah, in his infinite mercy, guided the basket toward Pharaoh's palace. It was there that the basket was found by Pharaoh's wife, Asiya, who, upon seeing the child, felt an overwhelming sense of compassion. She knew immediately that this child was special. The heart of Pharaoh's wife softened as she looked upon the baby boy, and she took him into her arms. Musa's early life in Pharaoh's palace. As time passed, Musa, as grew up in Pharaoh's palace, unaware of the great destiny that awaited him. He was raised as Pharaoh's adopted son, surrounded by wealth, luxury, and power. Yet, deep within him, there was a yearning and emptiness that could not be filled by the riches of the palace. He witnessed the suffering of his people, the Israelites, enslaved by Pharaoh's harsh rule. He saw the pain in their eyes, the weight of oppression upon their backs. Musa, as was torn. He had been raised in Pharaoh's palace, but his heart belonged to the children of Israel. One day Musa, as saw an Egyptian taskmaster beating an Israelite slave. The anger in his heart erupted, and in a moment of rashness, he struck the Egyptian and killed him. Realizing what he had done, Musa, as fled Egypt, heartbroken and conflicted. He left the comfort of the palace behind and escaped to the desert. Musa's journey to Midian, finding Allah's guidance. Fleeing to the land of Midian, Musa, as found refuge in a distant town. Here, he worked as a shepherd, a simple life away from the opulence he once knew. It was in this quiet place, surrounded by nature, that Musa, as found the peace his heart had longed for. But Allah had greater plans for him. One day, while tending his sheep in the desert, Musa, as saw something miraculous. A fire burned on a distant mountain, but the flames did not consume the bush. Intrigued, he approached it, and when he drew near, a voice called out to him from the fire, "O Musa, I am your Lord. Remove your sandals, for you are in the sacred valley of Tuwa." Musa, as was struck with awe and fear. He knew he was standing before a power far greater than anything he'd ever encountered. The voice continued, saying, "I have chosen you. Go to Pharaoh, for he has exceeded all limits in his rebellion. Tell him to release the children of Israel." Musa, was overwhelmed by the weight of this command. How could he, a simple shepherd, confront the mighty Pharaoh? And yet, he knew in his heart that this was the will of Allah. He was to return to Egypt, to face the ruler who had oppressed his people, and to deliver the message of freedom. Opening scene. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a vast desert. The winds are warm, and you can feel the earth beneath your feet, dry and cracked. You look ahead, and all you see is a horizon, stretching endlessly. The sun sets low, casting long shadows across the landscape. Now, open your eyes to a time long ago, in a land far from here. It's a time when there was no skyscrapers, no busy streets, no modern comforts. Only the rawness of nature, people, and their struggle for survival. You are in ancient Egypt, a place of grandeur, but also deep suffering. In this time, a great prophet stood. His name was Musa, as a man chosen by Allah to lead the children of Israel out of slavery to freedom. Musa's calling. The prophet's mission. Let's rewind just before the sea split, when Prophet Musa, first stood before the Pharaoh. His heart was heavy, knowing what he had to do. Imagine the atmosphere, heavy with tension, as the Pharaoh sat on his golden throne, a king full of pride and arrogance. "Let my people go," Musa, said, with unwavering faith. Pharaoh scoffed, his laughter echoing off the walls of his grand palace. "Who are you to command me?" he sneered, not knowing that Musa, was not speaking for himself, but for the will of Allah. And so, the struggle began. Moses and the Pharaoh in their contest of wills. One man, carrying the weight of a nation on his shoulders, standing against the power of an empire. The stakes couldn't be higher. The plagues, a shift in the balance. The Pharaoh would not relent. He mocked and defied, but Allah's power was too great. And then the signs began. Plague after plague fell upon Egypt. Rivers turned to blood, frogs swarming the land, locusts devouring crops. Darkness, disease, and destruction followed. But Pharaoh's heart remained hardened. He refused to see. He refused to repent. And all the while, Prophet Musa, continued to call, continued to warn with patience and humility. Imagine the scene. The cries of the people in Egypt, the helplessness they felt, while Musa, walked through the land, tried to reach Pharaoh's heart. Each day, the sun rose and set, and each day the Pharaoh's heart grew colder. The Exodus, the journey to freedom, begins. Eventually, Pharaoh's cruelty broke the hearts of the people. His refusal to listen to the warnings led him to a dark and unavoidable path. Finally, after the devastation of the last plague, Pharaoh's pride could no longer hold the people captive, and so he released them, but with an overwhelming sense of rage and vengeance. The Israelites, led by Prophet Musa, began their journey toward freedom. But their journey was not without its challenges. With Pharaoh's armies close behind, the people were left with nowhere to turn. Picture this moment. The Israelites standing on the edge of the Red Sea, with the mighty Pharaoh's soldiers closing in. There was no escape. The sea was in front of them and the army behind. The split of the sea, the miracle unfolds. And in that moment, when all hope seemed lost, Musa, raised his staff. "Don't be afraid," he told the people, his voice calm but filled with certainty. Imagine the silence that followed, the tension in the air, the sea, dark and immense, stretched out in front of them, the sound of the crashing waves. Then, suddenly, something miraculous happened. The waters began to part, slowly at first, as if the sea itself was obeying the command of the divine. The ground between the two walls of water became dry, solid. A path formed. It was wide enough for thousands to pass through. And there they were, the children of Israel, walking through the sea on dry ground, the waves towering on either side. Imagine the sound of water, like a distant roar, and the sight of the sky above, the stars beginning to twinkle faintly as night fell. But the Pharaoh's army was not far behind. Driven by fury, they followed, charging into the path. And as they did, the walls of water began to tremble. After the miracle, the fall of Pharaoh's army, as the Israelites reached the other side, they turned to look back. The Pharaoh's army had almost reached them. And then, just as they reached the midpoint of the sea, the walls of water came crashing down. The sound was deafening. The soldiers, the chariots, the horses, everything was swallowed by the sea. What was once a path to freedom became their tomb. Imagine the stillness that followed as the waters calmed and the moonlight reflected off the surface. The Pharaoh's mighty empire, once full of arrogance and power, was now nothing but a distant memory. The people of Israel had been saved not by their strength, but by the mercy of Allah. Reflection, the lessons of the sea. Think for a moment, what does this story mean for you? The Prophet Musa, was chosen for a mission that seemed impossible. He faced unimaginable odds, but he trusted in Allah's plan. In our lives, we too face challenges that seem insurmountable. There are moments when it feels like there is no way forward, no way out. But just as Allah made a way where there was none for Musa, He too can make a way for you. You must have faith. Take a deep breath. In the stillness, let that faith fill your heart. Think about the times when you face challenges and how Allah's guidance has always been there, even in the darkest of moments. So, as you lay down to sleep, remember the words of Prophet Musa have faith, trust in Allah's plan, and know that just as the sea parted for the people of Israel, your obstacles too could be overcome. Conclusion, closing the story. With that thought in your mind, drift into peace. Let the stillness of the night and the wisdom of the story calm your heart. The journey of Prophet Musa, shows us that even in the face of fear, we can find our way to freedom. And that, no matter what, we are never alone. Serenity stories, Prophet Musa, and the splitting of the sea, continued, the call to the Pharaoh, the way to divine mission. Before the parting of the sea, before the miracles began, Musa, had already faced his first trial. Imagine being in his place. Here was a man, born in a time of oppression, in a land ruled by a Pharaoh who saw himself as the center of all power and glory. Pharaoh had no fear of God. He believed himself untouchable. And yet Musa, stood before him. Think about the courage it must have taken. Musa, had grown up in Pharaoh's palace, raised as a prince. Yet his heart was always with the people of Israel, who were enslaved under Pharaoh's cruel rule. His mother had placed him in a basket and sent him down the river, and it was Pharaoh's own family that raised him. But Musa, never forgot where he came from. The children of Israel, the oppressed. His heart, pure and full of love for his people, burned with the desire to free them. Now, picture the scene. Musa, comes before Pharaoh, a king surrounded by courtiers and soldiers. It is a room of immense power. But despite the grandeur, the power, and the wealth of Pharaoh, Musa, stands unmoved. Let my people go, he says. His words are clear, though the threat of Pharaoh's anger lingers in the air like a dark cloud. But Musa, speaks with the authority of Allah. I have come with a message from the one who created the heavens and the earth. Your time has come to release those you have enslaved. Pharaoh's face hardens. His ego is shaken, but only for a moment. He does not believe in this message. Who is this God? He asks with arrogance. I am the one who rules this land. I am Pharaoh. I don't answer to anyone. But Musa, knows that his power is not his own. It is a power from Allah, the creator of everything. With patience, he explains that the one true God, Allah, has sent him to free the Israelites. Pharaoh scoffs. His heart, hardened by years of dominance, refuses to bend. The struggle, signs and miracles begin. Pharaoh's arrogance continues to grow, even as Allah sends him signs to warn him. The first sign is simple, yet profound. Musa, throws down his staff, and it turns into a serpent, a symbol of the immense power of Allah. Imagine the awe of the people who witnessed this. A simple staff, suddenly transformed into a writhing, hissing serpent. The sight is both terrifying and miraculous. But Pharaoh, still blind to the truth, calls upon his magicians. "Show me something greater," he commands. The magicians come, and they perform their own tricks, turning their staffs into serpents. Pharaoh smiles, thinking his power remains unchallenged. But Musa, stands unwavering. "You may perform your tricks, but they are nothing compared to the power of the Creator," he says calmly. And so Musa, as serpent devours the others, a sign that the miracles of Allah are far beyond the reach of mere human hands. Pharaoh is momentarily silenced, but his arrogance returns. He dismisses the sign as a trick, and his heart grows even harder. He refuses to listen to the warnings, continuing to subject the Israelites to unimaginable suffering. And then the plagues begin. One after another, Allah sends signs upon Egypt: rivers of blood, swarms of frogs, locusts that devour all crops, and darkness that covers the land for days. Each time, Pharaoh promises to release the Israelites, but as soon as the plague ends, he goes back on his word. Each plague is more severe than the last, but Pharaoh refuses to repent. His ego clouds his judgment, and the people of Egypt continue to suffer. The weight of their suffering grows heavier, but Musa, does not falter in his mission. He continues to deliver the message of freedom, of hope, and of faith in Allah. The final plague, the death of the firstborn. It is a final plague that breaks Pharaoh. The death of every firstborn child in Egypt, including his own son, strikes Pharaoh with a pain so deep it shakes him to his core. His pride is shattered, and in his grief, he finally agrees to release the Israelites. But it is not long before his heart hardens again. Pharaoh's pride does not allow him to accept defeat. He gathers his army and pursues the Israelites, his anger and vengeance driving him forward. But Musa, with the help of Allah, leads his people through the desert toward the Red Sea. The Red Sea, the moment of despair. As the Israelites journey through the desert, they are filled with both hope and fear. Their eyes are always on the horizon, hoping for a glimpse of freedom. Yet in the distance, the sound of Pharaoh's chariots grows louder. The fear of being caught haunts them. They look to Musa, who assures them that Allah is with them and that they will be safe. But as they reach the edge of the Red Sea, they see the unthinkable. The waters stretch out before them, vast and deep. Behind them, Pharaoh's army is closing in, their chariots thundering like a storm on the horizon. The Israelites are trapped. There is no way forward, no way to escape. In that moment of despair, when all seems lost, the people begin to cry out, "Why did we leave Egypt? Why did we follow Musa? We are doomed." Their hearts are filled with fear, and they look to Musa for reassurance. Musa, with unwavering faith, raises his staff and speaks, "Do not fear. Allah is with us. He will show us the way." His voice is calm, yet firm, a reminder that no matter how impossible the situation may seem, Allah's mercy will always find a way. The miracle of the sea, divine intervention. And then the miracle unfolds. The sea begins to part, slowly at first, as if the very earth itself is obeying the command of Allah. Imagine the stillness of the moment. The Israelites standing in awe as the sea opens before them. The waters rise like massive walls on either side, leaving a path of dry land. The Israelites begin to walk through the sea, each step a journey toward freedom. They walk with faith in their hearts, knowing that this path has been made for them by the grace of Allah. The sound of the waves crashing against the walls of water is distant, as if the world itself has paused in wonder. The night sky is filled with stars, and the cool air carries with the scent of salt and the promise of a new beginning. The Israelites walk in silence, their hearts full of gratitude and awe. They are not just walking through the sea, they are walking toward freedom, toward a future of hope and possibility. But Pharaoh's army is still behind them, relentless in their pursuit. Driven by rage and desire for revenge, they follow the path through the sea, unaware of the impending disaster. The closing of the sea, a lesson in faith. As the last of the Israelites step onto the shore, the waters begin to tremble. Slowly, the walls of water begin to collapse, the sound of the waves growing louder. The Israelites look back in fear, and then the sea crashes down. Pharaoh's army, caught in the middle of the sea, is swept away by the roaring waters. The chariots, the soldiers, the horses, all are swallowed by the sea. In the blink of an eye, what was once an unstoppable force is now nothing but a distant memory, drown beneath the waves. The Israelites stand on the shore, breathing in the cool night air, feeling the weight of their deliverance. They have been saved by the mercy of Allah. The Pharaoh who had oppressed them, the empire that had enslaved them, is no more. The people stand in awe of the miracle they have just witnessed, the aftermath, the journey to a new beginning. In the days that follow, the Israelites begin their journey toward the promised land. The parting of the sea was only the beginning of their long journey, but they no longer walk in fear. They walk in faith, knowing that Allah is with them, guiding them every step of the way. But even as they move forward, there is a lesson to be learned. The story of Musa and the parting of the sea is not just a story of miracles. It is a story of trust in Allah, of faith in the face of impossible odds, and the power of divine intervention. It reminds us that no matter how difficult our challenges may seem, Allah's mercy is always near. Final reflection, trusting in Allah's plan. As you lay down tonight, think of the story of Prophet Musa think of the courage he had to stand before Pharaoh. Think of the faith he had in Allah, even when the path ahead seemed impossible. In our own lives, we too face struggles, times when we feel trapped, when it seems like there is no way out. But just as Allah parted the sea for Musa, and his people, so too can Allah open doors for us when we trust in his plan. Let the lesson of Musa remind you that no matter what you face, you are never alone. Allah is always with you, guiding you through every trial, every obstacle, and every challenge. Take a deep breath. Let your body relax. Let your mind release the burdens of the day. And as you drift into sleep, remember, Allah is always there, with a way when there seems to be none.